Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Berninger. This is August Thompson. While we're here, are we on the top floor? Is this the rare books area? Oh yeah. I love this. This is my favorite room of this in Manhattan. I think I love this. I should have recognized it, but things have been moved around. But yeah, I'm really honored to be here and get asked to talk to August, who I'm a huge fan of, about his book Anyone's Ghost. And we talked backstage a little bit about maybe doing a reading. We decided no. August.
You got to buy it.
Yes. Yeah. Because that's kind of hard and kind of a rough thing. But I've read the book. I don't know how many people have read Anyone's Ghost. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. A very, very just courageous book. It's about New York City. It's about youth. About love. It's about sex. It's about so many great things. And August handles these things in such a beautiful way. The voice in the sentences are just beautiful, and so the book really moved me. The fact that it was named Anyone's Ghost was just a bonus, which is a song, a national song from my band. But anyway, so I'm really honored to be here, and I've had a lot of questions for August, but mostly because my first question for August is a question that I get asked a lot, and I know that he probably gets asked a lot, is like how much of the book, is a reflection, an autobiographical reflection, and how much of it is fiction. I get asked that a lot about songs that I write, and my question isn't for you how much is, but how do you answer that question? That's the question. Because I still don't know how.
We're deep in the labyrinth. Well, real quick.
We dove right in.
Thank you so much for being here. I know it's Saturday night in the best city in the world, woo. And you could be doing anything. If I didn't have to be here, I would be doing anything. So it really does mean a lot. Thank you to the Strand. This is like hallowed ground for me. It's so amazing to be here. Thank you to my family. My sister surprised me. I'm like emotional already. To my agent and my publisher and all these wonderful people. There she is. Hello. And I just want to really say thank you so much to my friends who are such loyalists and tolerate so much from me in my broken little brain. And I really feel like I'm made in your image, and it just means so much. So thank you for showing up so persistently. Get a life, but it is really, really fucking sweet, so thank you. So the question within a question. Yeah, I mean, I wrote this book during COVID. You may have heard of it, and I felt this urgency because everything I loved was shutting down, and so I wanted to kind of like give credit to all these locations that I valued so much, and so I wanted to bring life to them, and I just thought it was like, it felt very necessary at the time. And then, like, the stuff about my actual life, the line I always use is, like, my life was so boring, and I was just, like, a huge dweeb. And now I'm rad, obviously. But I had no, like, romance. I had nothing. I was just, like, playing World of Warcraft with my friends. There he is. And we were like pining and doing nothing, and so it was really kind of like transmuting all of this yearning into narrative and trying to make drama out of years of brutal nothingness. So yeah, I mean, transmuting that, it's a weird process, but I think I'm lucky to have an interior life filled with pining and nothingness, and that made the void very easy to fill. When you're writing your songs, how much do you go for? Yeah.
Well, everything, and the answer I always give is everything's emotionally autobiographical, but the details and the specifics are totally invented, I understand that question, but oftentimes I'm like, I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller, and every great storyteller is tapping their own heart and soul for it to be a great story. But I love melodrama. So and sad songs and songs that are crushing and are funny. They're not crushing or funny unless there's details to make you believe them. And so I think the details sometimes and all the make people think, oh, this is clearly like diary writing or really, and it is and it isn't, So yeah, it's a tricky question to answer.
Well, you asked it, so
yeah. How'd I do?
Can I retrofit your answer as mine, because that was quite good.
Was it good?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, he's a pro.
I'm a
oh, and I forgot to say
better.
thank you to Matt Berninger for being here.
Thank you.
One of the weird parts of being an artist is I have to pretend to be up here and be smart and whatever. But the reality is that I'm just like holy shit, it's Matt Berninger. This is so I'm a geek. I'm geeking out, but I've had to pretend for the hour that we were hanging out that I'm very mature and cool. So it does mean a lot that you're here.
Blew
so
it. You just blew it. So the book resonated with me in all kinds of ways, particularly in the way you describe the complex currents of the heart, and everything like logic versus gut instincts and stuff like that, and even in not only just the romantic parts of it, but even the sex stuff is so beautifully and honestly written about, and I think that's incredibly hard. That was really one of the many impressive things about the book. The sexual, describing of sexual energies and moments. But then the other thing that I just really loved, even though I moved to Brooklyn in 1996, and the 15 or so years that I lived in New York, right out of college, were just such a wild and rich and indescribing time, in your descriptions of going to bars and going out and hang out on fire escapes, or walking through the streets during the floods and all that stuff. And I remember I was here at the same time, and but all that stuff, just the little details of what it's like to go out and around the block, whether in Brooklyn or in Manhattan. It's so beautifully captured, and that, for me personally, was one of the things that I felt so at home in the book, and so I think I guess if you want to talk about place, and a lot of the book takes place in New Hampshire, and then a few different places, but specifically the New York stuff is so beautifully captured. I guess when you're I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll take over. Well, I could listen to you compliment me all day. So that is just so lovely. When I was writing this book, I was really nervous to set part of it in New York, because I don't know if anyone's shopped around, but there are 4,000 books set in Brooklyn at any given time, and because most novelists exist in sort of a similar socioeconomic sphere, there's a sameness I feel sometimes, and I didn't want it to sort of be. I wanted to find a way to reinvent something I knew so well, and something, I admire these books a lot, but I was really anxious about falling into a kind of genre, I guess. And so I felt like it was super hackneyed to set it during Hurricane Sandy. I thought it was as I was writing it, I was like, this is so embarrassing. What a insanely bland thing to do. But as I kept writing it, I was like, it just, I mean, I was actually here. I don't know if people were here during Sandy, but it was like, it was truly insane. It was a singular experience, and it was just so visceral in every sense. You know, it was just like wet and weird, and everyone's like kind of losing it. People were like marauding around, like protecting the block. Like it was really something. And so just like spending, you know, I've lived here for 15 years, spending, you know, 10 years drinking and walking around with my friends. You know, the best part of being a novelist is you get to pretend like you're actually interesting, but it's just like you compiling all these little observations. And so casting it through the lens of this unique weather sort of shared experience, I thought was a way of making it feel new. And yeah, it was just method research of having as many beers as I possibly could, and just putting in my hours, you know.
What when you did you write this when you were living in New York? Were you in an apartment in Manhattan or in Brooklyn? And what is your writing life like? What do you like? Where do you go to write? I'm usually, I mean, I'm writing all the time, texting myself, writing all the time, but the digging in to like, okay, let's really get these. Let's get this together. Like what's it like? Do you have a desk? You know. I have a couch. I smoke weed like this on a couch. What do you do?
Well, I wrote most of this book at a really lovely art institute called the Wasaic Project, and I had long COVID and I recovered. I was like out of commission for like 6 months, and then I got up to this art residency, and I was so stoked. So I was feeling better, and I was like, I can hike, I can be the man I've never been before. And the first day I was there, I fell down the stairs and broke my foot. So I couldn't walk for like another 6 months. And it's not, I don't recommend that as a practice, but it is a good way to write pages. But I think like being a writer, this will shock all of you, like there's not a lot of money in this game, and so I've always lived in really small rooms where it's just a desk and a bed, and I've found that learning to write without the perfect circumstance was like the most essential thing, because I think waiting for the right circumstance or waiting for inspiration is just like a form of procrastination, because you can't control that. And a therapist once very piercingly told me that I need help. No, that procrastination is a form of self-loathing, and that is unfortunately very true. And so you build these mechanisms to not work. You're like, oh, I need the right desk. You know, I would love to have like a mahogany desk. It's always fucking IKEA. And like, you know, it just, you can't wait for stuff. So like just learning to write with great diligence, you know, 6 days a week, spending between 4 and 8 hours, just like really, really going for it was kind of the transformative thing. And it took so long because I love doing nothing. I love chilling so much. It's my greatest talent. So it was hard to let that go, but I squeeze in my hours still, for sure.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, so on a good day, like a day that like I got some good work done, whether it's like pages or sentences or for me, 2 hours of like good stuff. If I got a day where I was kind of like got 4 hours worth of not even 4 hours worth of work, just 4 hours worth of like I was thinking about it and I was focused, and it doesn't have to be straight 4 hours, but that's like one of the best days. You know, I'll go weeks with nothing, and then a great 4 hour day is special. And so I guess, are you trying to get in an hour or so every day, or like do you put yourself, make yourself sit down and
yeah,
produce?
I mean, I'm not super great at like consistency in terms of how I spend my day. Like the best part of being a writer is that you can see as many matinees as you want. That's why I got into this racket. But I've found that tying all of your self-worth to productivity is the secret to getting things done. And so that's what I've done, and it's terrible for my entire life, but it does mean I work a lot. And I'm very mechanical. Like I set a word count every day. There's this great app because I have like a child monkey brain where I can't actually focus, that just like turns my computer into a typewriter until I've written 1,000 words. And that will take between 2 hours, I get to go to the movies, it's so rad. 16 hours, I hate myself and everyone around me. So it's really sort of about hitting these completely made up milestones, but it's the only way I've found to like really keep working with diligence. And I do think like pushing yourself to kind of keep going and push those hours further and further, like that's where a lot of the things I love the most about this book came from, was sort of breaking through the like logical, you know, what I thought a scene would be, and just really chipping it away at it. So it's not really, again, it's not practical for having a life, but it is good for working. So
Did you, going into this, have you written, I mean, what have you written before this book that prepared you to, I mean, that's a long question, but when you went into this book, did you have an idea, you know, how much of like how this whole thing was going to unfold did you have before you started diving in? And how much did that idea change over the course of working on it? And how long did it take you to from when you wrote your first sentences for this to you till like at the point where you're like, I'm going to send it to somebody, or it's done? Like, what was that whole
Yeah, I
process
mean, I was in grad school at NYU, and I was studying with a professor who I won't name, but his last name is Eugenides, and I turned in 20
Steve
pages.
Eugenides.
I turned in the first 20 pages of a different book, and he did not like it at all, and was like, he basically was like, why are you writing something so far from your life? Like, why aren't you writing something closer to home? And I was like, that is so dumb, and I'm going to prove him wrong by writing a book that's really close to my life. So I went home that week, and I'd seen the movie Moonlight pretty recently before that. I love that movie so much, and I just like blatantly stole the structure. Don't tell Barry Jenkins, he'll sue me. And I thought of this book in these 3 parts, and sort of I wanted to cover a long swath of time, but I wanted to be very in the moment still. I didn't want it to feel summarized. And then a week later I got COVID. So I was like really just kind of mulling it over forever. And I was sick enough that I basically, again, only played World of Warcraft and watched The Sopranos. And I don't know if that informed the work, but it did sort of let me like work in the background. And then I think one of the biggest change that came in the book was there's this character named Lou, who is sort of the female love interest and is my personal fave. And she did not exist at all until I started writing part 2, and it was very mechanical. I was like, I need Theron, the narrator, to talk to someone. What if it's someone like really hot and cool? Good secret, by the way, if you make all your characters hot. People love that. Yeah. And that was really like, that unlocked something. Like that let the book become, it went from what I think was a good and interesting but much more standard kind of queer coming of age novel into something that was about loving multiple people at once and having these really complicated feelings. And that was just like, that was like a revelation. And again, that was that thing of just like of pushing past and sort of like being willing to roll with things and discover deeper parts. And just kind of like letting go. And you know, it's beautiful when you when no one cares what you're doing, because you have all the time in the world, and so you get to take as long on a book as you want. And I think in many ways I was passively planning this book forever, but I did write it very quickly. I wrote the first draft in like 6 months, which every writer hates when I say that so much. So sorry. And then I worked on it for like, I don't know, like a year off and on, and it was only, I workshopped it again at school with very smart professors, and everyone was like super meh on it. Like they were like, okay, like whatever. And then I took a course with this, Jonathan Safrafor is his name. I don't know what I'm going to do there. And it was a cool workshop because we got to show the whole book. And normally you show like 40 pages over a semester. And and he was like the first person to be like, oh, this is like a real novel. This is an actual book, and this will get published. And he was wrong for like a year and a half after that, but he ultimately was right. So it was a really like grace-filled experience. I thought it all kind of came together in this really like amazing way. It felt like catching lightning in a way, which was just so incredible and fortunate.
So a lot of this, you're not in school anymore. So you're
No, I did spend like 5 years there, but
Yeah,
it's
I
supposed
was
to be a
in
2-year
college for
program.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They owe me a PhD for sure.
yeah. Not to jump to, but now that you've been at it, the book's out. Have you been diving into anything?
Yeah, totally. I think much to the chagrin of my agent, I write really fast, and I just finished a book that is like not where I needed to be, but it was a fun, like I was really pushing myself, and I think that's like a cool part of being well, I'm not like young, I'm rapidly withering and dying, but I think like being a youngish artist is that you get to kind of take these swings and see where they go. So who knows? I don't know.
So you started something, took a big swing.
Yeah,
and
struck out entirely.
And struck out.
Yeah. No, not entirely. But I think like I don't know. It's so weird to writing a book. It's a lot of words. There's like 90,000 of them, and they all have to be good, which is annoying. So it takes an exorbitant amount of time and focus, and you're just sort of following these random threads and hoping it works out. And it's I really hate when writers are like, it's the hardest job in the world. It's like, really? Like, you're sitting in your room, like AC is on, you're fine. So like the bitching kind of gets to me, but there is, it's a specific kind of just dedication, and you do kind of fall into this wormhole, and it becomes like what you're thinking about most, and that is like a really weird process, and again makes you a really bad friend and person in the world, but it's beautiful in that way, and so you just sort of follow these things and hope it works out.
But so you're at a spot with a new project where you're like you think you're gonna put it away and start something fresh?
Yeah, I think so. I'm this is also drives my friends crazy. I'm always working on 2 books at once. I think it's good to have like a side piece. Okay, don't like take that out of context. But like, because when you're writing just one thing, you're like, this has to be a masterpiece. Like my whole career depends on this. And you can, when you're working on 2 things, you can always look at the other one and be like, that's actually what's really good. Like that's the secret, and I'll get to it soon. So I'm working on another book now that I'm really excited about. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know.
I agree. I like to have multiple projects, working on multiple things, because then you kind of make them compete against each other, instead of trying to compete against other books or other records or whatever. You like, if you get 2 things going, or a couple things going, they start to challenge each other, and in a funny way, I find that. I think that's a healthy way to work on multiple things at one time. It sounds like you also like watch a lot of movies. You do a lot of absorbing, and how much? I guess how much are you? How much just you're absorbing of movies or other books and stuff like that? How much is that a part of your writing process? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
I find that when I'm trying to write something, when I'm just sitting there trying to write it, I can't write, and then I'll go do something else, and then I'll find myself in the back. I'm working out all these problems, whether I'm watching a TV show or went on a bike ride. But how much? Like, I avoid my own work sometimes to be able to get back into it and to have stuff to. I don't know. I do get the sense though that you're out there. You're not beating yourself. You're not trying to squeeze the blood from your forehead word by word. You're doing.
Maybe I should try.
No, I don't think it's a terrible.
No, like I think in terms of, I mean, going to the movies is like my favorite thing to do in the world, other than spend time with the people I love. But I think like I read mainly for permission. So like when I'm feeling scared, like I'm like, this is never gonna work. This is so stupid. I just will read, like these authors that I have no idea how they do it. Like James Baldwin or Toni Morrison or Fitzgerald, like all these, or Ferrante, these North Stars in my life. I just read it and I'm like, okay, they actually like did something insane, and maybe that means I can sort of really try and it'll be okay. And that's not to say that I think I'm as good as them at all, but if you see someone getting away with something, it's just so beautiful. And the novel is like, it's just the coolest thing because no two really look alike. Like it's resistant to beats, it's resistant to form in all these ways, and so you just get to read all these like fucking crazy people like having fever dreams for 2 years, and it's just so amazing what people are able to do. And so I guess that's sort of the inspiration is, a lot of writers ask me like, oh, do you read when you're working because you don't want the prose to affect you or whatever? And like, I never really worry about that much. But I definitely look to things to just be like, it's gonna be okay. Like you can just sort of keep doing this.
Well, you said you Moonlight. You said you copied the whole whatever
Yeah.
the structure for it. Like, I do think that you can try. Like, I think it's really good for artists to. I mean, like it's a cliche. Great artists steal or whatever, and that's true. It's like even I find that even if I tried to write a song like Iggy Pop or Radiohead or whoever, New Order or Tom Waits, if I tried to write a song like that or tried to steal something, even I like went about it, like I'm going to steal it, it's going to sound, automatically going to be so different. And then it'll get you into a thing and you'll quickly not even recognize that you've stolen something, whether it's a melody. I mean, I'm not recommending stealing melodies, but a little bit. I am recommending stealing melody. I mean, Radiohead stole the melody for "Creep" was a totally stolen thing. Their biggest song was mostly stolen from the Hollies, and but they ended up having to actually pay, didn't they? I think they got, but it didn't matter. So. Yeah, I fully recommend ripping off everything you love.
Get sued as much as possible.
Yeah, because no one will recognize it, and it won't matter. Like Fitzgerald was ripping people off, I believe.
100%, yeah.
So I think that's a really healthy thing. If you can't figure out what you're doing, just completely copy someone else, and it'll be hard it'll be really hard for somebody to sue you, like just because automatically if you're transposing something, you think you're stealing everything, most people won't even recognize it half the time. It's true.
So
I don't want any musicologists.
How's that law degree coming?
Well, yeah, I have a whole lot of lawyers coming at me all of a sudden. But
a friend of mine who couldn't be here tonight, he's not dead. He just had better shit to do. He said something really wise once. Well,
was it Steve Eugenides?
It was a one-off for sure. No, but he was like, unfortunately, you can only end up writing the books that you're going to write, and you can never. I read someone like Bolaño, and I would love to be that like sort of grandiose and smart and all this shit, but it's just not. It's never gonna happen, and like. The books that you're going to write they just become themselves, and that's the fun. And so you can spend your life sort of pining to be a better artist, but ultimately you can just sort of make what you're doing the best version of itself. So I think as you're saying, you can steal. We're so fucked. This is going to go viral. Like you're going to be sued, but you can steal as much as you want, and it just becomes you. Like ultimately.
Yeah, it does. It won't be. It'll become you automatically. I think I agree.
I feel like there's a real tenderness in the masculinities that you both talk about in your work, and I wondered if you could each speak to what you find to be like how you would define masculinity in each other's work.
That's a great question. Go ahead.
A prescient and difficult question. Thank you so much. That is a really hard question. I mean, I think for me, masculinity has always been something that just it's. I envy it in some ways, and I feel very disquieted by it, obviously. And like, the easy way would be to write about masculinity as an only evil thing, right? Because men are often terrible. I don't know if you watch the news, but there's a lot of bad shit going on, and it's usually boys going crazy. So it would be very easy to kind of like cast a wide net on that. But I also, like, many of the most beautiful relationships in my life are with my male friends and sort of the fraternity, that sense of things. And so I wanted to try and write about both the like brutality of it and sort of the physical discomfort and the fact that your like body is often under threat and stuff like that, but also just like it has afforded me many of the best like thoughts and conversations and all these things of my life. So I didn't want it to be sort of simplified, I guess. And then the tenderness, I just like can't help it. I'm just a really sad man.
That was good. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I write a lot, but I'm writing from mostly, from my perspective, so it just has that perspective, and I have a lot of sympathy for fucked up men, mostly myself. I have a lot of sympathy for myself. And empathy in all this stuff. I mean, like, just the idea of I mean, I was also raised Catholic, and there's all kinds of, there's so much guilt that comes with a lot of stuff, and so I always feel guilty, a little bit guilty about a lot of my thoughts. Maybe I should, but I also have empathy for the thoughts themselves. So I try to put it all into songs, so I think when I'm writing songs and lyrics, it's like if it feels like I'm trying to present an argument or then it feels like bullshit. All I can do is try to present the ugly and the ideas that are attempts to be a better person, and then also show you all the feelings and thoughts that are pointing your compass the wrong way. So I think everybody's compass, even now, it doesn't feel like it now, but like everybody's compass wants to go towards the good, the less selfish, the less about me. It wants to. I think that's God. I think that's soul. I think there's a thing that wants us to make the right choices in every little tiny thing, whether it's in a relationship or on the freeway, somebody cuts you off. Like, do you give them the finger? Do you escalate? Do you take the bit? Or do you try? I think everybody wants to go to do the right thing by just not giving the finger and not saying those things to your partner or whoever, the person that just but so often we don't. We say the shitty thing. We give the finger. We make the wrong choice. We always do. Not always do, but I would say it's 50-50, in human nature, and now it feels like it's lower than that generally, but I think you have to kind of put in both sides of the argument in a song or in a story for the story to be believable and be trusted, and for you to understand how hard it is to try to make the right choice. And that's why those are always the most inspiring songs to me. Songs by Leonard Cohen or Nick Cave or Patti Smith. These are people that will say the ugly things right next to the heartfelt, sincere things. And if you don't have the ugly stuff, nobody's going to believe the sincere stuff. That was good.
If you could talk a little bit about the song and it's
the song "Anyone's Ghost." Yeah. Were you calling it "Anyone's Ghost" pretty early? Oh.
Yeah, like probably
because naming it after the song. Or, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to the record so much when I was writing it. I mean, I confess my favorite song is "Lemon World," but that's a really fucking tough. There it is. That's
that sounds
a tough
like a good book
title. But yeah, I mean, that's like a touchstone record to me. And so there's something about the kind of, it's just so haunting and deeply sad and something very like purple and beautiful about it. And so, yeah, I mean, the third part of the book was always called Anyone's Ghost, and I was hunting for a title. And someone in a workshop was like, you should just call the whole book Anyone's Ghost. And I was like, that's so fucking rude. Why didn't you say that 6 months ago? You've wasted so much of my time. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the song, I think oddly in a funny way, that song started from just the title. A lot of songs, I just write a good title. Like, why do I love that title? And if it's a title that I keep going back, like, what's with that? There's 2 words or that 1 word. Why do I don't know what, And so then, honestly, I can't remember what the rest of the lyrics are to that song right now. But I do know. Like, so you asked me, like, what is that song about? And I don't want to be anyone's ghost. Is the what are the rest of it? I don't know. Anyway, it's one of those kind of like a good slippery title can really like be all you need, and the rest of it is just kind of like I'm hoping to make that title work again. I think I write too many lyrics in songs, and sometimes I wish I could just get it down to the basic weird couple of blurry thoughts that make me that keep me that resonate that stick with me, and so the song Anyone's Ghost was just one of those like you just don't want to be someone's regret, or you don't want someone else to be your ghost, or whatever, you don't want to hurt somebody or do things in a way that you're going to haunt somebody in a bad way, But you're haunted by good ghosts too, So it's just one of those. It's one of those titles that makes. I think that's why the song is good, because it's got a good title and a great beat, And
that's why the book is good. The rest is terrible. It's just the title.
I'm just curious if both of you could talk about your relationship to sort of, these like waiting game permission.
The waiting game?
The waiting game permission and the immediate, and how you support both of those and everything in between. But
that's really interesting. I think I think like dealing with the unknown and like it's very scary, right? Because you want things to work so badly, and they almost never do. And then you rewrite them, and no one knows that you failed so many times. But I think I've tricked myself into being really excited about that part of sort of like the waiting game, as you put it. Like I like working through that. Like I get too guilty when I actually do the waiting, and I don't know. Like maybe that's how it should be, or whatever it is. Like I'm not really sure, but I think just like chasing those impulses and being willing to really just fail miserably, and just sort of like grit and bear it, and know that it will get better if you kind of keep at it. It's one of the one of the very assuring things about having written a novel is like I do know I can do it, right? Like I physically, and there were so many years where I was like, literally what is happening? Like I bailed on so many books and stuff like that, and so I think that has really sort of helped of just knowing you can sit down and do it every day. So I don't know, like the waiting game, it just stresses me out too much. I think I'm too neurotic, basically. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I think there's if you get mad at yourself for not being able to generate, that's also sometimes it gets. I went for a year where I couldn't generate at all, and that was a real problem. But the block, like when you sit there and the frustration, or even the procrastination, wanting to avoid it, That's all pretty natural part of it, and I don't get mad at myself anymore for that. And like so, like I will go, a week, 2 weeks without working on anything. I'll be, but like not really working on anything serious or not even trying, and sometimes months, just because when I sit down and try, you're just not feeling it. And sometimes it's just not there. The muse or whatever you want to call it, it's just not there. And you can, and it's probably a good idea to just whatever your process is. For me, it's like opening a laptop, opening GarageBand, and putting a song in and say, okay, like try to work on a song, or listening to something back I've been working on and try to like, okay, what don't you like about it? What do you. And you can, but sometimes you can't even do that. You're just like, I can't, I'm not even, you're just in a bad mood about it. And it'll put you in a bad mood. And so I don't do it. And then a day will come along, and you have to kind of push yourself in there. You have to get into the pool, and the first few steps you're cold and a little bit. You do have to go out to the pool, sit by the pool, try, but then some days the pool is just too cold and fuck swimming, But then, like, I'm not getting that fuck. But then a day will get in, even if the pool is cold, you're like, it's good for you, and you'll start warming up, and you'll go, and that's really. Then you'll just really, really get in a hot spot for a few hours, or for maybe sometimes a few days, So I don't try. I don't have any rules on myself. I will acknowledge that when I just don't feel like it, I'll smoke some weed, and then I'll feel like it.
This conversation was brought to you by cannabis.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I'll do stuff to like, okay, and then, the brain, your brain, trying to come up with this blurry stuff called, a novel or a song or a record or art. It's also blurry, like what it could be anything. It could be anything. Even when you're 90% done, it could change drastically. So the whole time, it can be anything. And even if you, like I've gotten where I think a song is pretty much finished, and then gone back and thrown everything away and rewritten a whole nother song to it, and knowing like I throw away so much stuff. When you start throwing your stuff away a lot, you start to regenerate stuff even faster, as opposed to like, just going back to the same refrigerator and pulling that frozen idea out that you're like, gotta thaw it out and turn it into something edible. Like, fuck it, throw it away. Like, don't go back to the freezer, go outside, get a new idea. Yeah, you have to be really reckless, I think. I think that's the thing. Like, don't worry about how terrible anything's going to be. The more reckless, the more you embarrass yourself with whatever you're writing, you're getting close to the good stuff. Anytime I write a line or a lyric, I'm like, oh, no. Like, I can't. That's ridiculous or disgusting or too much or something. I'll know at least that there's something. There's some live wire there. There's something dangerous there, and yeah. So I think it's really important just to go in and be bad, be an awful artist. For a little while.
I think you're touching on something too of like differentiating between when you're afraid of doing something, when you know that you're facing resistance because you're freaked out by being that vulnerable, by trying that hard, or when just like the juice isn't there, right? Those are to me very distinct things, and I find that like a lot of the pushback that I have internally is actually when I'm like, oh, this is the best I could possibly be at this, but I'm just really afraid of being that vulnerable. And that I think that just comes through like developing a practice and just learning like what your little, like mechanisms for avoiding the most honest parts of yourself are, and seeing that through.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the job of writing and having your laptop set to like X amount of words in a day and the hours, and then Matt mentioned about the hours, weeks where you don't write at all, and then that you're stuck. So and you mentioned the actions that you like take, like what you do to kind of get out of that slump. But I was wondering if, and this is maybe me shamelessly asking for recommendations, are there like novels, music that you always turn to that becomes your crutch when you're in that spot, and not necessarily it inspires you to write, but is there something like you always go back to that when you're kind of there? And thank you.
No.
Goodbye.
No, but no, I mean, meaning there's not like a thing that's gonna inspire me. There's not like, oh, I mean, it's funny. It's like I'll go back and watch Sopranos, or I'll watch Deadwood. I'll watch movies a lot. When I'm listening to when I go back and listen to music, I almost it's not like it is so inspiring, but I won't go back to Tom Waits. Like when I'm in a pickle, and I just can't write anything, the last thing I'm going to do is go listen to Tom Waits. Or, that made me feel even worse. Or Leonard Cohen, or Joni Mitchell, or something like that. Like don't, like it's better. I mean, I think it's better just to kind of like whatever, just throw anything on. Listen to bad stuff. Listen to stuff you don't like. I mean, sometimes listen to, I get really inspired to write songs when I listen to pop music, I mean, not that, there's some of it's great, but like, I was like, ugh, like some is just so shit. It's so bad, and it makes me annoyed that this stuff is so bad. And then I'm like, I'm going to go, sometimes, so it's not, but then, like there are things like you could almost, I say this, you could almost pick up any book off of any shelf, and I'll do it, right? And just like open up and find a page and just start fucking around with the words that are on that page, in an agony of annoyance, waved him away and he disappeared, shutting the door, right? I don't know.
Boring. No.
Just kidding. Oh, that sucks. I should pick a different book. No. But you just like, I've been doing this with The Great Gatsby, where I'm just like taking all the Fitzgerald's words and just taking out all the proper names, taking off the suffixes and prefixes, and only using the verbs and the adjectives but only Fitzgerald's, words. And it's just recreating a whole different thought out of just the words in the two or three lines out of a Fitzgerald lines. And you almost can't even recognize that I'm ripping off. I'm not ripping off Fitzgerald. I'm not ripping off The Great Gatsby. I'm just borrowing the words, these 20 words he used, or these 50 words he used to write this great little thing. Just just steal from pieces of it and write your own thing just with a few of those words. It won't be anything like The Great Gatsby. And whatever this is, like, and all of a sudden you'll have this great sentence that is your own, not the dark Grandis. What is this? What does that say? I can't even read that. Whatever this book is, by George W. Cable. My point is that like you can kind of in any a postcard, an old postcard. You go to a thrift store and buy old postcards, and read whatever this person was writing to their loved one that was from 100 years ago, and just take from it and run, and go run wherever you want. It's not I don't really believe like plagiarism is actually hard to do. It's really hard to plagiarize. Even if you have to take full sections of something, but you can every thought we have is plagiarized from something we've seen or do. It's everything. The language, the words we're using, the English language, is such a confining thing. It's hard to explain, but I don't. There are no original thoughts. There's just original combinations. of thoughts, kind of, and those become original. So steal, steal, steal.
My answer is much simpler, I think. I'm just like a spite-driven person. So what you said about listening to bad shit, like I'll read books that I'm like, this did what? Like, this was nominated, like, and it's super petty. But I am just like, okay, well, I could do that for sure, or I could do my own take on that. And then yeah, like just reading things you do love and sort of like finding a home in them is also quite nice. But it's mainly the spite. And on that note, thank you all so much for being here.